Hi everyone. I just wanted to come on today because I've been writing a blog about what a woman with anorexia really looks like, because it was really important to me, because I think when I sort of started struggling with anorexia, I very much had an idea of what I thought that somebody with anorexia looked like, and that often, was somebody who was very skeletal and just didn't eat. I thought that's what it was about, and often, sort of, in the media, I guess that is what somebody who's struggling with anorexia is portrayed to look like. There's always, they love the idea of kind of like the skinny pictures to shock, and and they want to hear about, kind of like how people don't eat much and things like that. But as we know, that can be really, really triggering. And I had conversations with journalists who were interested in my story, but as soon as I said to them that I didn't have any sort of skinny pics to sort of like, to show them or anything like that, they weren't interested. And so this became even more, I was even more determined to kind of, to show that actually, that's wrong. It's because it's particularly with teenagers and that growing up, if it can, there's a lot of denial with when you have an eating disorder anyway, but it doesn't help. And so I just was really important for me to kind of like share the message that actually you don't have to look like that in order for there to be an issue that you need to get help with. Because often, although you don't look like that at the start, it can, as your illness progresses, that can often, develop. But, it's been said by lots of people that the earlier you get, sort of like some help, the kind of like, obviously the more achievable the recovery in a quicker rate, etc. And so I know that, we don't often see ourselves the way that we look to other people as well. So I know that there's denial in that. And when I first went to see my GP, I was completely stunned when I was diagnosed with anorexia, because I didn't seem to be, the kind of like other people were being portrayed. But I knew that I wasn't happy. I knew that there was, something going on in my head. But I felt, sort of that I was because I wasn't of, a particularly low BMI, although I was, kind of like, I guess, underweight, or at the, on the outskirts, on the underside of my kind of like healthy weight, I guess. I felt that, I wasn't sort of like listened to. I was just kind of like cast aside, and, I needed to lose more weight in order to be taken seriously. But was that my excuse? Was that my kind of, did I then think, oh, well, okay then, obviously he doesn't think that, my GP doesn't think I have an issue, so therefore I can continue to use these things. And it's a real double-edged sword. And I know I'm kind of like skating on thin ice when I suggest these things to you, because it's something that is it's sticky. You don't want to hear it, and I know that I didn't want to hear it. But as somebody who knows what it's like, I just want to kind of tell you from my experience what went on for me, and then whether that, because everybody's story is different, and I'm not trying to tell you about what you feeling or how you're experiencing it, because, it can be different to mine. But I know that I was I was really upset about that GP's visit, and I let it you know, kind of like affect me and make me worse. But it didn't do anything for that GP. It didn't kind of like make him feel bad. It didn't, you know, he has no idea about what went on for me after that, because I switched GPs and I went to see somebody else. And you know, as far as I'm aware, it was never brought up with him about how, you know, that conversation that we had, etc. So he's probably forgotten all about it, and it's just me that's kind of like held on to it, and, you know, it affected me. So, you know, if you find that a kind of like, I call it like a door closes on you, don't give up, you know, just go and look for another door to open, because there are other ways of helping out there, you know, that may be even better for you. So just don't be afraid to keep going and looking for them. And yes, you can sit back and you can go, wow, that's that then. I did that, you know, but it didn't help me. It just got me even, you know, even worse in my condition. It therefore took longer to, you know, to recover, etc. It doesn't help. And like I said, I know that there's a lot of denial around, you know, around eating disorders. And for such a long time, I was like, right, you know, I'm not hungry, or I don't like food, or I've gone off that. And, you know, there were all these excuses that I was making to myself, you know, or I was just really busy and there was a lot going on and all these different things. And, you know, and then, you know, sort of like later on, I kind of, you know, I hit a relapse as well. And then the excuses would come back again, the same excuses. So, and I, you know, and I denied again myself. And it wasn't until kind of probably the end of last year, I think, that, you know, I got really busy, and I'd started to lose some weight. And again, I sort of started to tell myself, oh, I'm busy, da-di-da-di-da, all these things. And there was this thing in my mind going, am I really in denial here? Oh my gosh, am I really, you know, am I really going to go back down that way and I'm just not even aware of it? And so I remember saying to myself, well, okay then, so stop being as busy. If, you know, kind of like going down that road is, you know, you don't want that to happen, and you are saying that the only reason that that is happening is just because you're really busy, stop being so busy. You know that that's not a path that you want to go down, so don't go down it. Stop with the excuses and see what happens. So I relaxed in everything that I was doing, and I became far more aware. And, you know, and then I started to regain my appetite. And I was just so relieved that that had happened, because I thought, yes, I'm not there, you know. But sometimes it's about challenging that denial to see, because if you're saying these things to yourself, like, okay, so for instance, I'm not hungry, which is one I always used to say, but I'm not hungry. I don't feel hungry. I don't really like food anymore. It just doesn't bother me. Okay. Now, I know from my experience, I have never felt such fear in my life as I did when Anna was in my head. And I think a lot of you will probably agree with that. I don't want to presume that, but I think that's a common sort of common thing. So, if you imagined that you just weren't hungry, you weren't particularly hungry, but you ate some anyway, that would be okay, wouldn't it? For somebody without Anna in their head, that would be okay. For somebody that kind of like, you know, tries a new food, or tries a food that they don't particularly enjoy, but without Anna in your head, you know, you just go, well, I don't like that. and that would be it. So it's about really being aware of what is you and what is Anna, what is your eating disorder. Because if there is that, it's fine to say, oh, but I'm just not hungry. But we can all eat, when we're just not really that hungry, and it won't bother us that much. But with Anna in your head, it's a totally different story, isn't it? And I think that's the difference. So it's trying to work out what's you and what's Anna, or your eating disorder. And it's about kind of like challenging these things. It's thinking about these excuses and thinking, okay, so how can I see whether that's me or whether that's, being made up? Because, she's very good, Anna, your eating disorder is very good at convincing you of these things, because then it's easier to follow her way and she can control and manipulate you just exactly as she wants. So it is really tough, and it's about your reaction, to it. And the other thing that I wanted to say, and talking about, kind of what a woman with anorexia looks like, is actually, when you sort of like have struggled with this illness for a while and you have sort of like lost weight, and people tend to notice that more, don't they? And they have kind of like more concern and more care for you, and you have more support. But when you start, when you try to recover, you go down that line, one of the biggest, apart from the fear of restoring weight, obviously, one of the other things is that you worry about what other people think, and are they going to take away that support? Are they going to sort of start, saying things to you? Are they, going to think that you're okay then? And the thing is that nobody knows what it's like to have an eating disorder unless you try and tell them, unless you try and say, explain, and then still they won't know. They'll have the slight appreciation, but they won't fully know. So I know what it's like when, to be sat at a dinner table and you start eating and everybody else relaxes, because they see you eating. So in their mind, oof, oh, it's okay, she's eating. But in your head, you're absolutely screaming that, no, you're not okay. You're not happy with this. It is not fine. You need to say something. I know when I kind of went into an eating disorder centre, for 4 months, and I remember saying to, my family before I went in there, when I come out, even though I would have restored some weight, I still won't be recovered. I still won't be okay, because recovery is not about just restoring weight. It's about being clear of, of that voice in your head, of that eating disordered voice, of Anna's voice. That to me is what true recovery is about. And, but people don't know that, and I don't think I didn't know that when I was kind of going through, sort of like down this stage. And I thought, it was just about restoring weight at the end, and learning to deal with it, but actually we can kind of like go that step further and work on ourselves and really clear that voice. It's not about just kind of avoiding it. It's about being totally okay and kind of like, gradually turning that into a whisper, and then being confident and to say, just off. You can do that. I didn't believe that I could do it, but I did. But it's also, again, going back to the whole, worries about what other people will sort of think, and they'll think that you're okay, etc. It's your responsibility to tell them, to let them know, actually, I'm gonna do my best here to eat this meal because I know that it's right for me. But don't think for 1 minute right now this is going to be that much of a pleasant experience. At the start, things will change, but it's really important to keep up that support. And it's probably, the most critical time for you, because you are in that state of, you're desperate to go back. So you need everybody to be with you, to support you, but they can only do that if you can tell them what's going on for you, tell them what you need from them. Say what kind of support would help, say what you're actually struggling with, spell it out to them. Don't hint. I know it's really, really hard, because you don't want people interfering, or, but they're not going to know unless you say. And then I've seen it in the groups that I'm in, and it's like, my family aren't supportive of me, they're this, they that, they think that this and that. They won't know unless you tell them. So don't hint, say it out clearly, spell it out what you need. And even if you don't know, tell them what is not helpful, because again, they won't know. And maybe it's something that you have to figure out together. But it's about communicating that, and sometimes something that helps you today won't help you tomorrow. But again, it's about communicating that, because the thing is, it is very easy to isolate and think you're on your own with this. It really is, and I know because I've been there. But you then have to try and trust and let people in, because it's all very well saying, oh, well, I'm on my own with this and nobody can help me and stuff. You have to let people in order for them to be able to help you. Otherwise, it's like, you're like this. Don't come near me. I don't want you to comment. I don't want you to say anything about what I'm doing. In order to get that support, you need to let people in. It can't, you can't have it always. You can't, you can't be. It's either, I remember saying to a client, it's, imagine yourself like in a boxing ring or something, and you're on, you're sort of like on a tag team and stuff. Who are you going to side with? Are you going to side with Anna, or are you going to side with your family and your friends? And this is the choice that you need to make, and I know a lot of it doesn't feel like choices, and it certainly doesn't feel like easy choices, and I get that. But these are choices that you need to make, you can make. So anyway, just wanted to come and share that little tidbits with you, and let me know what you think about that. Hopefully some of it helped, some of it resonated. But anyway, it'd be great to hear your thoughts. Okay, take care. If you ever want to chat to me, I'm always here, and I'll speak to you soon. Lots of love. Bye.